On the Patriot Mobile Platinum microphone.
They're never going to stop us here.
Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
And Armed American Radio's Daily Defense on a Garbage Day begins right now. Welcome inside the 6 Hour Studios with you, with me, with you, Greg. It's going to be a long hour.
With us.
Welcome in with you. Okay, let me start over. Let's see if I can do it in radio lingo here. Welcome inside Armed American Radio's Daily 6 Hour Studios. The Daily Defense I know, something like that. The Daily Defense begins right now. Welcome inside the 6 Hour Studios with me. I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day in front of the Patriot Communication and Command Center microphone. Greg in Dallas, you chimed in a little bit early there. It's just going to be one of those days, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. It's Wednesday, top of the hill. Here we go.
Top of the hill. Yeah, you know, for what should be a fast week, this one's kind of moving pretty slow all of a sudden.
Yeah, it slowed down a little bit, it seems.
Today? It did. It seemed like it slowed down a little bit. That's okay. I've got two great guests in here today. And I forgot to mention to David Codria that Ryan Petty was going to be here today. We're going to bring both guys in. But it's been one of those days. Greg, we're on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Armed American Radio. You can watch us live over there. Please like and share the post. Greg, I'll let you do your shtick, and then we'll get to our guests.
Yeah, you can also watch the show over on YouTube and Rumble. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. On X, it's at AARMark. The live chat, download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
And that will do it. Let's go first to my co-host today, Ryan Petty. How you doing, brother?
Mark, it's great to be here with you today on Garbage Day.
Garbage Day at the Ranch. Garbage Day at the Ranch. Let's introduce David Codria, War on Guns, the man, the legend, the myth himself. David, how you doing?
It's not as nice of a day as it was last time I talked to you. It's kind of gloomy and rainy and wet. Haven't seen any deer run past the window here. But I got a good cigar going, and so I'm ready to rock and roll with you. And listening to the way you guys started out, all the laughing and stuff like that, I don't have to be very serious about this, do I?
No, actually you don't. What's going to happen is, because I'm kind of tired, you two are just going to take it away. I'm just going to chime in from time to time. How's that? Ryan, go ahead.
Sounds good.
Hey, you're talking about the weather, guys. It's always fun to talk about the weather. Ryan, you were not on the broadcast years ago when David was, and we used to talk about the Gore. When Al Gore was, at the peak of his global warming nonsense, and inconvenient truth, none of which has come true, by the way. I want to point out Al Gore should be embarrassed. I don't know how he sleeps at night, except I do, because he's just a charade and a liar to this day. But David, Drudge Report, and Ryan, Drudge Report, this guy's just got nothing left. Coward Drudge, right? Top story on the left up there. This is how you know the Democrats got nothing. Lead story up on the top left on Drudge Report. Right now, it's been up all day. Get ready for years of killer heat, top weather forecasters warn. Hey, Ryan, let's go to you first. You're in Florida. I understand it's really hot down there today.
Boy, it sure is, Mark. I wish there was a word for this kind of heat. I've heard
Summer.
some people refer to it as summer, but I don't know. It seems so strange to have warm weather in Florida.
Is it, especially at this time of year? And here's a prediction, David Codria. It's going to get hot up in Cleveland this summer. And here's one that I know this one's a stretch, David, but where you sit, it's probably going to snow a lot in the wintertime.
One of the things that I've noticed, the weather is always wrong. And so this is the season where the grass is growing really fast, and so I got to mow it more than once a week. And I got a pretty big yard, and it takes me a long time to do it. It's my workout. And here I'm thinking I'm going to have time to do it, and all of a sudden it starts raining on me. And the weather that morning never said it was going to rain. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking to myself, if they can't even predict hours ahead, how are they supposed to forecast for years ahead? Okay, and the obvious answer is they can't. This is just blowing smoke up everyone. And didn't we just see some kind of lawsuit settle with Mark Steen and some climate scientists from Pennsylvania State because he was using the hockey stick and all that for global warming, and Mark Steen poo-pooed it and ended up just getting vindicated in court over us. Did you read anything about that?
No, I heard it, but didn't read about it. I don't know anything about it other than the headline itself, which is basically what you just gave. But, people have asked us over the years, Ryan, what does the weather have to do with guns and everything? It doesn't have anything to do with guns per se. What it has to do with is hysterical reporting, okay? And nothing exemplifies hysterical reporting more than this type of nonsense, this climate alarmism, and guns. And in that sense, they go together, Ryan. There is a connection there because when they've got nothing else, they go to hysteria, don't they, Ryan? And you know more than anybody else about the hysterical reporting on guns, for crying out loud.
No, absolutely, Mark. It's their MO, as they say, right? And so to exert control or to convince you and me to allow them to enact their policies, right? They've got to have some existential crisis. Mm-hmm. It could be anything from mass shootings to the polar ice caps are going to melt tomorrow. Whatever it is, it's presented as a crisis. It's presented as something only they have the solution to. And it requires you and me to give up a lot of our freedom and a lot of our treasure so that they, in government, the unaccountable class, I will add, right? The unaccountable class in government, so that they can solve the problem on our behalf. And really, we should be grateful that they have our best interests at heart.
Oh, David, Ryan, that was a great analysis. David, he framed that in a way I don't think we ever have. It's something that only they have the answer to. And this is why they've been able to convince so many people that it's a problem and get them to throw money at them and not mind additional taxes. Same thing with the gun control debate, which ended right back, I don't know. I think it was, it's on my license plate, 2A1791. That would be December 15th, 1791. But David, it's so true. That's a great analysis, Ryan. It's so spot on because only they have the solution, right, David? So they've been able to brainwash
create the problem, and then we're the solution. And before we go on, Ryan, I have not met you before. I've read about you. It is nice to meet you, and I say that thankful for technology today that lets me meet so many people over the telephone and over the internet that I have not yet met in person. But I just wanted to say, hey, nice to meet you, man.
David, it's a pleasure to be on the radio with you. I've read your stuff. Absolutely thrilled. Someday we will meet face to face, but for now we've got Armed American Radio.
We need to get we need to get you guys here to do some grilling while armed at the ranch. A lot of that was done over the last few days. Hey, it was Memorial Day weekend this weekend, guys. I kind of want to start with a story out of Chicago. We'll take this to the break and likely go into the next segment with it. But David, I'm just curious because you're up on this. Did you happen to follow any of Chicago's murder numbers over the holiday weekend?
No, as a matter of fact, I actually took the weekend off. I had whole family over here on Memorial Day for a big dinner. Then the very next day, we repeated the process over at my brother's house. So I was pretty oblivious all weekend.
Which day was easier for you? Dare I guess? Probably going to your brother's, right?
You know what? I love hosting. It's not a chore for me. I love having a lot of people over, and we do it well. And it's just a real joy for me to be able to do that. Of course, you do that too. I've been at your house. Yeah. We've grilled while armed at your place.
We've actually grilled
when you do
while
it right,
armed,
it's
David.
great.
We've actually grilled while armed. We didn't just cook outside. Which one of you two lit up your gas grill with the little push button thing over the weekend?
I did.
I did too.
I know you did, Ryan. I know. That's why I'm asking you guys. I hit you both with that because I had a conversation with Ryan, Dave. You're going to love this because you and we've been doing this on the radio for years together. But I had this conversation with Ryan, and it's going to get to a point where he's closer to me than you are, David, but I think I'm just going to have to lead him by the hand, take him to Home Depot, and buy him a Weber kettle. And he threw the whole thing out. It's just so convenient. I know, I said, I know. You don't have 15 minutes to chill out with a Manhattan or a cold beer while that charcoal gets hot for that 15 minutes because everything is such a rush. You guys and your fallopian tube grills, okay? David will, or Ryan will explain that when we come back from the
Look,
break.
I was worse than that, Mark. I blamed it all on my wife, right?
Okay.
Just let's be honest. I blamed it on her.
And guys, he did. He blamed his wife to me. And I know his wife, and she's a dear thing, and it wasn't her. It was all Ryan. That was a cop-out. Hey, when we come back, we're going to go to Chicago. There's mixed numbers out of Chicago. Hence, the first reporting of them were lower than they wound up being, guys. When we come back, we'll go to Chicago murder numbers over Memorial Day weekend because, well, you know, as we started out, only they have the solution, right? Except they never implement it. We'll be right back.
The following segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back to the show.
Indeed. Don't take a sip of the sugar-free Red Bull earlier. Take it right as we're going live again. You'd think I'd figure that out by now. Welcome back inside the 6 Hour Studios with me, guys. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day. Patriot Mobile, if you're watching on your devices or TV sets or any of that fun stuff, Patriot Mobile activated phone right here. You can do the same thing. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR, and you will get a month of free activation over there. It's really simple to do, and you can visit all of our great partners at armedamericanradio.com. Don't forget, attorneys on retainer, attorneysonretainer.com. Use that AAR promo code, and guess what? You get $35 off your sign-up fee over there. It's only $35 a month, and you have a self-defense team of attorneys. God forbid you ever need your gun. Literally, truly on retainer. Boom. Take your case right off the bat. Attorney-client privilege starts the moment you fill out the paperwork. It's a done deal. It's that simple. And you can use the AAR promo code. They support us. We support them as a great sponsor that they are. So support them. You can find them right on the front page of armedamericanradio.com. Ryan Petty, welcome back.
Good to be with you today, Mark.
And David Codria, welcome back. I got a funny story, guys. You know, Ryan, you were talking about blaming your wife. I was telling Greg this during the break. He kind of cracked up. It's kind of a good segue. This morning, I was up early, and I was watching a little bit of TV, and my wife comes downstairs, and I hear she's making coffee. And I said, "What are you doing in there?" She says, "I'm making coffee." So she grabs her cup of coffee, disappears. A few minutes later, comes back, opens up the freezer door. Now, remember, it's garbage day today. She opens up the freezer, and as I'm trying to watch this TV show, all of a sudden, all I hear is these freezer bags of things just constantly rattling. It was driving me crazy, one right after the other. And I said, "What in the world are you doing in the freezer at 6:45 in the morning?" And she says, "I'm getting stuff ready to throw out for garbage day, stuff we're never going to get to." And she was just all into it. And then she starts making another cup of coffee. And I said, "Are you making another cup of coffee?" She says, "Yeah." I said, "Is that for me? Because you already had one. I guess you're making that for me, right?" She goes, "Fine, you can have it." So I get up and walk in to grab the cup of coffee. She goes right back to rattling all the stuff in the freezer. And I said, "You know, it's really funny. I had a dream last night that you were so flippin' nice to me that I woke up sweating thinking it was a nightmare." And without batting an eyelid, she goes, "And I had a dream last night that you were quiet." Turns around and walks upstairs. So that was how I started my day today, guys. Pretty funny stuff. So there's the old wife story for the day. Guys, let's go to Memorial Day. Chicago's bloody Memorial Day weekend leaves 22 shot, 2 dead. Reportedly in Chicago, 139 homicides so far in 2025, following 573 homicides last year. Now, I have an update to that. And the final tally is actually 5 killed and 25 wounded. The numbers continue to rise. And they will likely rise as 1 or 2 more of those wounded people, Ryan, die from their wounds. And this kind of goes back to what you were talking about. They always present the solution, right? We have the answers. They create this problem so that they can come up with the solution, but they never implement the solution. And we've reported on tens and tens and tens of thousands of killings in Chicago over 17 years on the airwaves. Ryan, take it away.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this earlier today. I tweeted something out earlier. It had nothing to do with the Second Amendment, but it was just a video. I believe it was shot somewhere near Seattle where I used to live. And it was just the garbage that piled up around a homeless encampment that was facilitated by, of course, a blue city government in a blue county in a blue state, where somehow they view as compassion allowing folks with mental illness and drug addiction to pitch a tent on public property and then completely decimate the area, leaving it unusable, uninhabitable, undesirable for anyone else to even be around there. And you take that, and then you take the way a city like Chicago is governed, with the absolute, lack of focus on dealing with violent criminals. And then in the chat just a few minutes ago, somebody posted, San Francisco students can now graduate with failing grades under a new grading for equity guideline, right?
Everybody gets a trophy. Everybody gets a trophy.
Everybody gets to graduate. And even if you're failing, you get to graduate.
No child left behind.
We throw these kids into into this blue city which is probably already very violent, even though it's gun controlled to no end, and we throw them into this environment with all the homeless and the folks that are mentally ill on the streets. And I just think somebody should do like a super website that just chronicles the governing prowess of the Blue Party in all of these cities and all of these states around the country, and throw that up for the American people to look at and say, these are the folks that want you to give up a little bit more of your income and a little bit more of your freedom so that they can protect you from all those things they've made up, to David's point. And I think that would be a really good way of demonstrating the absolute ineptitude of that party in being able to govern.
David, it's insanity. Take it away from what you just heard and the final death tally, so far final. Latest.
Yeah, let's go to Chicago and let's go to all those shootings. I wonder how many of the people who committed those shootings went through background checks first, or had their Illinois FOID card, or submit to anything that only affect the law abiding. Okay, and of course the answer, of course, is none. And all the gun control laws in the world don't stop these people one bit. They just laugh at them and they move on. And to get to Ryan's point about blue city governments and things like that, the mayor of Chicago was justifying and putting down the Justice Department, which is, I guess, looking into them for discriminatory hiring practices. Okay, and he was basically justifying this by saying that we do it because we're the most generous people, okay, based on race.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking this is the whole Democrat philosophy. You see them out there giving away things and taking credit for being generous, but they're not doing it with their own money. Okay, these politicians are doing it with tax plunder, and yet they are presenting themselves to the people, and the people that vote for them are buying it up and eating it right up, that they are being generous. And wait a minute, that's not what generosity is all about. And you see people misuse this with Christianity, that say that, well, Jesus would have done this or that. He never would have said, to basically rely on the Romans to do it. Generosity is what you do yourself, and you do quietly. The Democrats are out there taking all kinds of credit and using photo ops to give things away and present themselves as generous when it's not theirs that they're giving away, and yet instead of doing it humbly and quietly and behind the scenes with their own property, they're doing it with other people's property and taking all the credit for it. That pretty much, defines a Democrat.
No, you're right. And, when you frame it that way, it's I'm going to take your stuff and I'm going to be generous with your stuff and give it to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's just pure redistribution of wealth. It's that simple, but they mask that and they hide it. By the way, that idiot mayor in Chicago, I saw a piece just a couple days ago, a video piece. And we're getting ready to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about it. But he declared Memorial Day Africa Day. Meanwhile, they're killing each other in his city streets by the dozens a week. And this guy is just oblivious to everything going on around him. And he does it with a straight face. It's incredible, guys. We'll be back with Ryan Petty and David Coder. You don't go away.
Designed, engineered, and manufactured right here in America. Daniel Defense, freedom, passion, precision.
Daniel Defense is freedom, passion, and precision, ladies and gentlemen. I just had a great conversation with Marty Daniel earlier today. That is the real deal, that company, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to check them out. We were talking a little bit about, increasing activism from a younger crowd within the gun rights community. How do we do that? And you'll be hearing a lot more about that in the coming weeks, particularly coming up this Sunday when we have a huge announcement on Armed American Radio. We're going to be talking in great detail about that, which is part of the reason we had this conversation. And Marty Daniel's company is the real deal. They make the real thing. And honest to goodness, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't gotten on the email list over there, you're really, truly doing yourself a disservice. They are great emails. They've got great promotions going on that you can only get if you're on that list. These are the emails that, like when you get a magazine that you like, man, you put it off until you have time to sit down and really dig yourself into it. With David Codria, that's probably Cigar Aficionado and any of the gun magazines. I'm kind of the same way. So I get that. I do the same thing. And you probably will do the same thing with the Daniel Defense emails, because I do, and I'm sure we're cut of the same cloth. And also, you can support the Double D Foundation, which is supporting the youth shooting sports, which are the younger crew coming up behind us. You can find it all at DanielDefense.com. And all of our great partners. Today, I got my Ammo Squared. Ryan Petty, did you get your You've Got Ammo email today?
Yes, sir. I sure did.
There you go. See, Ryan gets it too. David, you need to check out Ammo Squared as well. It's a 401k for your ammo supply. It's a beautiful thing, guys. And you can find all of our partners, including Ammo Squared, Daniel Defense, and the rest at ArmedAmericanRadio.com. Guys, I want to shift gears, and I want to go to Minnesota with you for a minute and kind of hit you guys. David, are you familiar with the Shields case up there, the outdoor store? I was talking about this yesterday briefly. You familiar with this?
No, I'm actually not.
Okay, well, that's good. And Ryan, are you familiar with it, just by chance?
I'm not.
Good. I'm glad you're not. See, ladies and gentlemen, it's real deal. It's spontaneous stuff. We don't plan the conversation. We just have a conversation like we would if we were sitting chatting, and that's what we're doing. Shields is a large outdoor chain up in the Midwest, based in Minnesota, and they are being sued right now. Everytown for Gun Law has, tons of money behind them. They're behind this. You had a situation, and David, I'll start with you. You had a situation where a 19-year-old kid walked into the store, I guess about a year ago, maybe two, forgive me. 19 years old, he asked to see a handgun. Now in Minnesota, 18 to 20-year-olds can do that. It's not a violation of the law. They didn't card the kid, the man. He's not a kid by law. He's an adult, 2 years into adulthood. They handed him, of course, an unloaded pistol that he asked to see, and he took off with it to another side of the store where he loaded it himself and killed himself. Now, the store is being sued, and it's Everytown for Law at the forefront here. David, under what circumstances would this store be held accountable for that?
Yeah, it just absolutely doesn't make sense at all that you are supposed to be able to be a mind reader. And if that's going to be the case, his age becomes transparent at that point. What if he were 40 and he did the same thing? Why does showing an ID have any bearing on the matter whatsoever?
No, that's a great point. And the reason this came up was because the judge just ruled that the lawsuit, he tossed out the motion to dismiss from Shields. Ryan, again, the same question to you. And that's the headline surf, but that's really all you need. David, you just made a great point. Where does the have to be carded stop, right? You go buy beer at a grocery store. My dad's 86 years old, and he gets carded if he were. I say, hey, Dad, while you're in there, will you grab a six-pack? They just card everybody. Where does this end? Where's the magic line? Why should the gun shop be responsible for this kid's suicide? How do they know?
Yeah, we live in such a litigious society that everybody's doing they're covering themselves. They're going to the nth degree to make sure that they don't have any liability. It's absolutely insane. Obviously, this kid was troubled. He went there with a purpose. Found a way to, as criminals, I guess I can call him a criminal, but they always find a way, Mark. And so, to me, it goes to foreseeability. I mean, how could Shields foresee that this kid who's there looking at a firearm, and I call him a kid because he's 19, but he's there lawfully looking at it. How could they foresee that he would take that handgun and do what he did? Now it's a sad situation all around, but this is one of those things where, quite honestly, we've got to come back to sanity in the United States. And a judge should have looked at this and said, you know what? Shields was trying that they're selling a lawful product. They did everything that they lawfully should have done and went above and beyond, quite frankly, and couldn't foresee what he was going to do. Case dismissed. And we ought to go on about our lives. We need a bunch of that to sort of clean out the system in the United States so this kind of frivolous garbage goes away.
Yeah, and now, David, what you're going to have here, and you know how lawsuits proceed, when that motion to dismiss was not granted, now we go to discovery. It's going to be another year at least before you go through discovery and depositions, and then there'll be a motion for summary judgment, and who knows what happens at that point. So we're still 2 years out from some type of resolution in the court system about this. But it's, you know, when you look at the Protection of Lawful Commerce and Arms Act, right, gun manufacturers are not shielded from lawsuits if they make a defective product. Dealers, wholesalers, etc. If they had handed this kid a loaded gun, okay, that's a different story, or could be. And I could see that going through the motions, discovery, depots, everything else. But when they handed him an unloaded gun, how are they supposed to know that he was either A, going to grab a box of ammo off the shelf and take off with it, or how are they supposed to know these things? So you know what's going to happen.
And
go ahead.
Well, even had he produced an ID,
yeah,
that would not have changed the outcome. And we've seen this happen. We've seen people go to shooting ranges and commit suicide at shooting ranges. And, you know, what's to stop me from going to the hotel and jumping off the balcony, or going to the gas station and filling up my can with gas and then pouring it all over myself and lighting a match? I mean, you can extend this everywhere and everything, and I'll bet you dollars to donuts, okay? You send me a link to this story, or I'll go look it up afterwards, and I'll look up this judge's name, and then I'll look up his name on Ballotpedia, and we'll find out he's a Democrat.
You're probably right about that. Moving on to the next story. Great conversation, guys. David, you have one up now on Stage Video, gets it right about many cops and ignorance on open carry. This is always a great topic. Tell us what you got going on here with this piece. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find this. David wrote this. Everything it is, by the way, the Clearinghouse is War on Guns. This is up at Ammo Land, but you can find everything David does at waronguns.com. But let's bring this one up. Let's talk a little bit about this because it's always a fun topic.
Yeah, I was sent a video, a Twitter or an X.com video, and it showed this cop stopping this guy walking down the street carrying a rifle, and the guy's protesting, look, I'm allowed to. The Attorney General says that I can because this is open carry. I forget what state it was. Maybe it was New Jersey or something like that. And the cop says, well, I haven't heard anything about that. And he calls the sheriff over, and the sheriff goes, I don't care what the Attorney General says. You can't do this. And then I find out there was a correction note to it underneath the video saying that this was actually done to highlight the fact that they don't need concealed carry because they have open carry, okay? And I'm thinking, well, but what it actually does is it illustrates an ongoing problem that I have been writing about literally for decades. You know, in Ohio is an open carry state, and yet we were having instances where people were being pulled over for open carrying and proned on the ground by cops who didn't know the rules. I ended up writing to 3 successive attorney generals, the last one being when Governor Mike DeWine was attorney general, and asking them, look, you gave your guys training. How difficult is it to make sure that law enforcement in this state understands what the law is on open carry? You know, you put out a memo to all departments, okay, you say train your staff in this, and it's just real simple. Everybody every year has to file a form or sign a form saying, I understand the sexual harassment policy. I understand this policy. Same thing, one slip of paper, get them to sign it, put it in their jacket. There's no excuse anymore for not understanding the law.
Yeah, and when we come back, David, as you know, the music means we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to continue this conversation. Ryan, we'll go to you because Florida's got some bizarro stories with the open carry. You have to be fishing and all that nonsense. But it was Maryland, and I want to ask David if it was a staged video. I did see the video myself a few days ago. We'll be right back to continue the conversation.
This segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Daniel Defense. Visit DanielDefense.com. Now, back to the show.
DanielDefense.com. You heard me mention them already. Also, the rest of our partners. Make sure to check out BudsGunShop.com, BudsGunShop.com. And let's not forget, again, I'll mention again, attorneys on retainer. God forbid you need to use a firearm. You've got a legal team behind you immediately the moment you join. And you can use the AAR promo code. The easiest way to do it, you can go to attorneysonretainer.com or .us yourself, or you can just go to Armed American Radio, check out all our partners. You'll see them right on the front page. Click it, boom, takes you right where you need to be. You get $35 off that sign-up fee, and for about $35 a month, and my family's involved. If you got a family plan, it's $25 per person, and that's what I did, and I've got all of my family members covered. That, you talk about sleeping easy, ladies and gentlemen, that's the real deal. Attorneys on retainer, heavensharvest.com, budsgunshop.com, ammosquared.com, barrelbuddy.com. Make sure to check out all of them. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. Ryan Petty, let's go to you on this story. Before I do that, David, you say in here it was staged. I saw the video. I couldn't really tell. I could go either way on that, but some of these videos nowadays are so good. Was it a staged
Actually,
video?
there was a community note that had a link to the story of how it took place. And yes, in fact, this guy was, the rifle carrier was a congressional candidate, and the sheriff had actually made a statement in the story that he didn't realize that it was going to be put on social media, and he wouldn't have done it otherwise. So yeah, it was a staged video.
Okay, it's interesting stuff. You know, I think we're all in agreement that open carry should be the law of the land, and I always like to quote Massad Ayoob. First of all, let's just say that first I believe that open carry should be the absolute law of the land. Having said that, and then he will go on and talk tactics. Tactical. What's the best tactical way to carry a gun? But the base is open carry should be legal in all 50 states. And David, you mentioned Ohio. A lot of people in Ohio didn't even know Ohio was an open carry state at the time before you guys got concealed carry, which was not that long ago in the scheme of things, especially when we're talking about geologic time, right? Good heavens, it's not been that long ago. It's been a blink of an eye. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is how the fight for freedom goes on, 1 inch at a time. It's really 1 inch at a time. Ryan, when you hear a story like that regarding open carry, I mean, you know, Florida, you guys don't have open carry, likely won't for some time, even though DeSantis has voiced as recently as a couple months back that he wants that bill on his desk before he's gone. It doesn't look like it's going to happen, but you can open carry if you're hunting and fishing. And you see lots of people posting videos of themselves being harassed, and I mean harassed by having law enforcement draw on them for fishing on a bridge while they're openly carrying, which is perfectly legal to do in Florida.
Yeah, it's really insane what you the hoops you have to jump through to be able to open carry. Now, I'm with I'm with the folks that I'm not a big fan of openly carrying. I prefer to conceal carry wherever I go. I want the element of surprise, and I think it gives you tactical advantages and all the reasons we've talked about. But I don't think we should deny anyone the right to openly carry. And it's just funny to watch some of those videos. If you ever want to spend a good evening, you know, after you've cooked some nice burgers or some nice ribs or something grills on your gas grill, you could sit down and watch some YouTube videos of law enforcement in Florida, unfortunately, that is not as well educated on the law here in Florida, and that is perfectly legal to open carry while you're fishing. So I don't know, maybe you need to have a pocket, one of those I think for like my 10-year anniversary at one of the companies I worked with, I got a telescopic fishing pole. I think it fits in your pocket. Maybe I should just carry that around all the time.
And then I haven't seen those.
And then
in years.
I could open carry whenever I want.
Yeah, well, guess what's going to happen at some point down the road. Now, you're good friends with Sheriff Grady Judd. Have you ever had that conversation with him? Maybe you should. I don't know what his position is there.
I have had that conversation with him. I don't want to misrepresent what he said, but I think he's probably along the lines of should be legal, but why would you do that?
Okay, well, again, that's the tactical debate, not whether or not open carry should be legal. I think everybody's got that baseline. Well, some don't, but David, they should. They should. But, if you're in a place like Florida, is it worth it? I mean, look, that could be a tragedy waiting to happen. by some cop who's not aware of the law, and you find yourself dead. You know, it's just one of those things where you've got to use your head. And I know, it's pissed off a lot of people in the state of Florida. A lot of Florida carry guys. We're trying to make. Why isn't law enforcement aware of these things, David?
Maybe what we need to do is do what I did in Ohio and write to the Attorney General and ask him to get a training letter in each cop's personnel jacket. And like I said, it took 3 Attorney Generals, and the reply I got from DeWine was, well, we really don't, that's up to the legislature to do that, until a kid got killed at a Walmart when he was handling a BB gun, and somebody swatted him and called in the cops and said, there's a black guy with a rifle in here, and they came and they shot the kid. And then it turned out that no, what he was doing was he was looking at, at an air rifle on display, and this guy panicked and called in the cops, and they whacked him. And after that, all of a sudden, they started instituting training in Ohio. So my letters didn't do anything, but all of a sudden, I was warning them of liability, and all of a sudden, once they became liable, they changed their tactics. And so maybe something like that needs to happen in Florida to pressure the Florida AG to write to every law enforcement officer or agency in the state and tell them, we expect your people to know this.
Yeah, and meanwhile, you got a kid that's dead.
Yeah.
That was the price of this. Is it worth it? People have to be knowledgeable, not just you, ladies and gentlemen, but law enforcement as well. Staying on Walmart, when you mentioned that, we only have about a minute and a half or so, but Walmart was just fined $16,000 in New York for selling realistic toy guns, Ryan Petty. Yeah, David's laughing. Me too. I mean, you can't. It's hard to even get past the headline, but it's New York. Fining them for selling realistic toy guns to New Yorkers, Ryan. Come on, man.
These are the same people that think it's okay to let the mentally ill and drug addicted roam the streets, pushing people in front of subways, and doing much worse things to people on subways. If you've read some of those stories, these people are insane. They should be laughed out of office. I don't know why the average New Yorker puts up with this. There's something that changes in your brain chemistry. I've got to think that once you get surrounded by a bunch of other human beings, like 1 million, maybe 2 million of them, that you just turn off a part of your brain that says, I'd like to be free, and I'd like to keep as much of my income as possible. And you go into this mode of, I want to be governed. In fact, govern me harder. So I don't know what it is. It's absolutely
govern me harder, baby.
Oh, I love it. That's a bumper sticker, Ryan. Good. Heavens. Said the typical liberal. Govern me harder. That's beautiful. David Codrea, I'm going to have to call it quits on that laugh of yours. I got a chuckle out of you just with the headline on the Walmart story, and Ryan throws in. Ryan for the win. Liberals are the nail, and Ryan is the hammer. Govern me harder. Ryan Petty, thank you for being here, brother. Appreciate it. And David Codrea, thanks for everything you do. Please, David, tell people where they can find you, brother.
WarOnGuns.com.
That pretty much says it all. I think I said that before, but I can reiterate that again. WarOnGuns.com. David Codrea is a legend, ladies and gentlemen, and he's been a fan favorite here on the program for well over a decade and a half, and now you know why. David Codrea, thanks for everything you do. Ryan Petty, thank you for everything that you do. We'll have you back later this week, maybe even tomorrow. I want to talk about some upcoming things you have from an activist standpoint going on around the country. That's Ryan Petty, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. Going to get up and do it again tomorrow because they don't want us to. Until we meet on the radio tomorrow, enjoy your day. Stay safe. We'll see you tomorrow on the radio, guys. Okay, guys, thanks for jumping in today. Appreciate it very much. Hope you enjoyed the show as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. Always fun to have those two guys on, particularly when they're together. Always fun. Those guys are the real deal. Thanks for being here, ladies and gentlemen. It's midweek now. Tomorrow's the downslide for the next weekend coming up, which seems like yesterday. All of a sudden, the day got faster on us. So stay safe out there, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your day, and we'll see each and every one of you on the radio tomorrow.